Hello, welcome to Donkey Brains Vlog, episode 4. I'm Courtney. You probably know me already, but if you don't, welcome to my channel. So nice to see you here. This vlog is going to talk about my poker results from both December and January. I was supposed to record a vlog earlier this month going over just December results, but it didn't quite happen. I just didn't get around to it. So today I'm going to kill two birds with one stone and cover both December and January. The first thing we're going to talk about is, of course, the results. So I'll show you some graphs, and we'll take a look at the numbers and see what my EV ROI was, all that kind of stuff. The second thing we're going to go over is just overall results. So overall for both December and January combined, and then overall since I started playing Spin and Goes on PokerStars. The third thing we're going to talk about is just some analysis. So we're going to talk about hundreds versus 60s again when it comes to Spin and Goes. We're going to talk about what happened. Was it running bad? Was it playing bad? That kind of thing. Next on the list, making a living. So when I stream on Twitch, frequently people will watch me play spins and they will ask, okay, well, you say that you play poker for a living. How in the world are you paying bills losing all these games? So I'm going to go over expectation. I'm going to go over what I can expect to make given my ROI. And then I'm going to go over what I would make, say, if I weren't streaming. And then, last but not least, what next? Something people always want to know. What's going to happen next, Courtney? Are you going to keep playing spins, or are you going to play something else? And I will answer all those questions. So, let's get started. Let's start with December results. Makes sense, right? December, January. So we'll start with December. In December, I only played 383 Spin and Goes on PokerStars. It was a pretty low volume month because I started playing MTTs that month as well. So if you recall from Donkey Brains Vlog episode 3, I talked about mixing in some MTTs, starting to play them, learn them. They're fun to stream. And games also weren't so great back in December when it came to Spin and Goes. So I decided to play some MTTs and lower my Spin and Go volume. That's why I only have 383 games. I won 15,898 chips in these games. That equates to 41.5 chips per game. Not bad. I played mostly 60s. If we switch to just 60s, we will see that I played almost all 60s. I believe the breakdown is like 10 30s and 10 hundreds. So as you can see here, I played 351 60s. My chips per game is actually higher if we just isolate 60s. I made 42.5 chips per game, which is equivalent to 3.1% ROI. So here is my January results. As you can see, I played 477 games, also lower volume than my past month since I started playing spins full time. I also played MTTs on some days while I streamed on Twitch in January, so that's the reason. As you can see, the graph for January, not quite as good as December. That's an understatement. I only made 8,830 chips in 477 games in January, playing hundreds and $60 spins combined. That equates to 18.5 chips per game, and if we're going to convert it to an ROI, it is negative 1.5%. So significantly worse than last month. If we were to break it down between the stakes, so I played 114 hundreds, and in those hundreds, I made 1.2 chips per game for negative 4.8%. If you would like to see that, I can show you. Here is the hundreds graph. So there you go. I basically made almost 0 chips per game, and that equates to like close to negative 5%, like I said. 60s were also negative, but less negative. So 60s were negative 0.9%, and in chips per game, that's 21.4 per game. So these are EV numbers, of course. I'm only going with EV numbers. If you take a look at the yellow line compared to the green line, I actually lost more chips than my EV says I should have. So we're looking at the yellow line, but all my graphs do show the green line, so you can see about how bad I ran compared to what I should have made in chips. But nevertheless, even the chip EV in January was negative. Now let's take a look at overall results. So first, December and January combined. Between December and January, I played $860 spin and goes on PokerStars, and I made 24,728 chips. So that's the EV chips that I made. And that equates to 28.75 chips per game, which converted to an ROI is 0.5%. That is 60s and 100s combined. And if we were to take a look at 60s, since, as you saw in January when I played those 114 games, my chips per game, so bad in hundreds. So I decided to take a look at my 60s between the start of December and the end of January. And the ROI is a little bit higher for just 60s. In 707 games of 60s, I lost it in my notes. 707 games of 60s, I made 22,534 chips. That is a chips per game of 31.9, which equates to about 1%. So yeah, those are the results for December and January combined. If we were to take a look at my overall ROI since I started playing Spin and Goes back last August, I actually had fail, and I switched computers, and all my other results from August are on my other computer. So what I actually have to do before next vlog is try to upload all my other hand histories to this computer here so that going forward I can have all my results. So what I did to figure out my ROI is I just went to Spinlizer and I took a look at what they say my overall ROI is since I started playing Spin and Goes, and they say it's 0.4%. I am not really surprised to see that because the last time I recorded a vlog, my overall ROI was also 0.4%. December and January's results didn't really change anything a whole lot. So, makes sense, right? 0.4% overall for my ROI since I started playing spins. Now let's do a little bit of analysis. So let's think back to the results and try to kind of figure out what happened. So you saw from the January results, like I said already, that I lost a lot of money playing hundreds. And if you watch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/courtiebee, by the way, if you don't already follow me there, if you watch me regularly on Twitch, you might remember that back on January 7th, that day I decided to play hundreds because I knew the hundreds were very soft, there weren't a lot of regs playing, and I wanted to try to take advantage of some really high EV games. So I played hundreds, even though prior to that, I had mostly been playing 60s. In December, I mostly played 60s. So that session, I played 30 $100 spins, and I actually ended up losing 29 of the 30. And you can see on this graph when that happened. I believe it happened right over here. This over here, you can see, so this is a chip graph, right? It goes straight down, all the way down to this point over here with one little blip. And that's the one game that I won that day. So this was losing 29 out of 30 games. I ran really, really bad that day. Not just, you know, the typical 2-outer, 3-outer. I was dominated, I feel like, almost every hand. So that day I ran really incredibly terrible, and it was, to be completely honest, I played one game that had regs. All the other games had recreational players. So I definitely know I ran bad that day. And it's funny, it's weird how a crazy bad day like that can change your results so much. But it does make some sense since it's such a small sample. Um, so yeah, the other hundreds that I played were probably more average hundreds. I know that that day I barely played any regs, and overall I'm confident in saying that I played fewer regs at hundreds than at 60s overall. So I know that the day of hundreds that I played was a lot of just running terrible, which happens, of course. According to Spinlizer, now I found this pretty interesting. According to Spinlizer, 39% of my games were zero reg games. 39%. Now, when we think back to SpinWiz, the software that was preventing regs from playing each other, in the SpinWiz days, I also had about 30 to 40%, probably closer to 40% of my games were zero reg games as well back then. But back then my chip EV was a lot higher. So the past couple months, 39% of my games were zero reg games, but my ROI was really poor. So that tells me that I didn't actually play that many regs the last 2 months, but I ran really poorly against recreational players, which obviously will happen quite often. But it's good for me to know that so that I know that it is a lot more likely that I ran really badly in December and January as opposed to playing really badly. That being said, I think it's safe to say that I'm sure that tilt affected me a little bit during this session over here. I'm sure that I know I was really tilted during this session here. And I recently had another bad day over here. I actually was playing 60s. And as you can see, these lines, the downswings, are really similar between this day and this day, except my losses were halved on this day over here because that was 60s and this one was 100. So I had two really bad days this past month, one at hundreds and one at 60s, and in the end it tanked my my real chips one and my EV chips one. So yeah, that's basically me taking a look at the results and when I lost what and trying to figure out what happened. So yeah, I definitely these months happen, right? When I was playing Heads Up, there were lots of months where I ran really terrible and my EV was negative, and I know for certain that I was a plus EV player playing Heads Up. So spin and goes are even more high variance than heads up sit and goes are. So it is to be expected that there will be months where my chip EV is pretty bad and my actual EV is pretty bad, and that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's a variance. So I should try not to let these past 2 months get me down too much. So I do admit that I was disappointed when I saw my results. I knew that I ran bad some of the days, but I thought that my chip EV would be a lot better because I've improved a lot. I've worked on my game, and I know my abilities, right? I know my three-handed game definitely worse than a lot of the regs that play spin and goes, but I know my heads up game is really strong. So I was definitely disappointed. Overall, kind of what I think about the last 2 months, I know, like I said, that I have work to do in my three-handed game, but it is a lot better now than it was, say, 4 months ago. So I'm happy with the progress that I've made. I will definitely keep working on my game. I know that I've run bad the last 2 months, and I just have to power through it. Overall, my ROI, my EV ROI was still positive. It was still 1% in 60s, and overall it was still 0.5% even when you include the 100 losses. So that's encouraging that after such a bad couple months that my EV ROI is still positive. All right, so that's enough of the graphs. The next thing I actually want to talk about is making a living. And I figured we don't need to see graphs for that. A lot of times when I stream, people will come in and they'll see me losing at spin and goes, or they'll see me going on, downswings, upswings, downswings. It's really swingy overall, right? So a question that is very common that people ask me is, how do you make a living at this, right? They say, I see you lose so many buy-ins and then you win some and then you lose some. How are you making money? How are you paying your bills? And I decided to kind of have a section in this vlog to answer that. I just want to go over some numbers, okay? So let's say if I weren't streaming first, okay? If I weren't streaming and I 4-tabled spins, which is not a lot of spins, by the way. Most regs, they will play 6 to 8 tables, okay? But let's be conservative. Let's say that I'm 4-tabling spin and goes. If I'm doing that, I'm playing at least 18 games an hour. As it is with me 2-tabling, I play about 9 or 10 games per hour. But I'll assume, just to be on the safe side, I'm playing 18 games per hour 4-tabling, okay? If I have a 1% ROI at $60 spins, which is the percentage that I have maintained since I started playing spin and goes, I've maintained a 1% at 60s, which is not a good, that's not a good ROI. But let's say that I'm only making 1%, okay? That is 60 cents per game. If I play 18 games an hour, that is, I forgot to talk about rakeback. With the rakeback changes on PokerStars, I'm making 28% rakeback. Minimum 28% rakeback as a supernova. That equates to 84 cents per game. So in total, with the 1% ROI, which is 60 cents per game, 84 cents per game with rakeback, I'm making $1.44 per game if I have a 1% ROI. If I play for 1 hour and get 18 games, that's $25.92 per hour. 40 hours a week of that is $1,036 per week. And if I play for 4 weeks of 40 hours in a month, that's $4,147 per month. So as you can see, just breaking down the numbers, 1% ROI of 60s, 4-tabling, which is the low end of the number of tables, and a low end ROI, you're still making $4,000 per month playing spins. Not bad. Not bad, right? And that's just assuming that I only have a 1% ROI. My ROI is an accumulation of all the games that I've been playing since August. I am a better player now than I was in August. So is my ROI higher than 1%? Maybe. I haven't proven it to myself, so I am assuming just 1% and still making that much money per month. That's enough to pay some bills and for some food, right? Now, I am a streamer, so I don't 4-table. I only 2-table. So you can assume that my expectation for spin and goes is about half of what I just said, because I am playing half the number of tables. But also keep in mind that since I am streaming, I do have streaming income. And that is much lower variance income than poker. The hourly for streaming is certainly a lot lower. So I am sacrificing a lot of hourly to stream. But for me, it's worth it because I like streaming. And so you can assume that I do make less than that per month because I am a streamer. But I do have a little bit of streaming income. I also wanted to mention that the hourly goes up significantly, obviously, if you can get a higher pre-rakeback ROI. So, like I said, if you're making 1% and you're 4-tabling, you're making about $26 an hour. If you're able to raise your ROI from 1% to 2%, you are making $36.72 an hour. And if you're able to go from if you're able to go 1% even higher than that and go to 3%, you're making $47.52 per hour. So, I mean, we're getting to a pretty decent hourly, right? Like, $50 an hour is not gonna make you rich or anything, but that's a decent amount of money. And if you're able to get to a 3% pre-rake back ROI, you're gonna be making $50 an hour. And there's a lot of regs that are doing even better than 3%. So I thought I would just include this little section in my vlog so that it is easy for me to answer that question in the future of how the hell do you make a living at this? That's how. Last but not least, what's next? So it's a funny thing. When I stream MTTs on Twitch, people will come into the chat and they'll say, "Hey Courtney, did you quit Spin Goes?" And I'll be like, "No, I'm just playing MTTs for now." And when I play Spin and Goes in chat, people come in. Sorry, when I play Spin and Goes on Twitch, people come into the chat and they say, "Hey Courtney, did you quit MTTs?" And I'll be like, "No, I'm just playing spins for now." So I feel like people really just want me to give them a straight answer. They want me to tell them, am I playing Spin and Goes or am I playing MTTs? What am I doing? My answer is that I'm going to do both. It's not super optimal, EV ROI wise to play 2 games, really. It is obviously going to be more plus EV to focus on a game and get as good as possible at 1 game at a time. That being said, I think it's plus life EV to enjoy myself. So I want to learn MTTs. I want to learn spins. I think they go really well together. I think that on days where I play MTTs and I bust everything early, which happens pretty often, it's really cool to have Spin and Goes as a standby and say, well, I've only played 3 hours of poker and I'm busto and everything, but I can still play 2 hours of Spin and Goes and get in my 5-hour session. You know what I mean? So I really like the idea of having skills in both. Also, by improving my Spin and Go game, I am improving my ability to play poker overall, including MTTs. By getting practice in 3-handed pots and Spin and Goes, I can apply that knowledge to MTTs and 3-handed pots there. And it's just kind of like back when I played Heads Up, I can apply all that knowledge that I have about Heads Up to MTTs as well, because a lot of the time in MTTs you're playing Heads Up pots, right? So I really like the way they go together. So my answer to the question is, yes, I'm going to keep playing Spin and Goes, and yes, I'm going to keep playing MTTs. As for MTTs, so some people have asked me, well, how have you been doing in MTTs? What's been going on? I mean, I don't have a good answer for that, because if you've been watching my Twitch stream, you will know that I don't have any big MTT scores. And kind of how MTTs work is that if you don't have any big scores, you're going to be down in them. So I am down in MTTs so far since playing. I have 1 win, which was an $11 turbo. That was a small amount. And I have 1 final table bubble in a tournament that actually mattered. That was the Hot 44. It had quite a bit for first place, but I unfortunately bubbled that final table because I got 2-outered. So how am I doing in MTT? So far the results are negative. How do I feel my game has gotten? I've definitely learned tons. I've done a lot of push-fold work and just kind of seeing, push-fold ranges with various stacks. I have done quite a bit of range work, so I've been learning, what you should be opening with, 3-betting with, 4-betting with, that kind of thing. And I'm going to keep learning. I'm extremely excited to keep playing them, and I am going to win something awesome. I know I'm going to. And then I'm going to fill in the MTT caps with spins. So that's my plan. Going forward in February, I am planning on having some stream days for MTTs only, assuming I don't bust everything early. So I'll have some days set for MTTs, but I will have some days set aside for spins too. And I didn't do that very well in December and January, like have days set aside for MTTs and some days set aside for spins, but I am planning on doing that this coming month, and we'll see how it goes. Because of that, I will have a pretty small sample size next month when it comes to Donkey Brains Vlog episode 5. But I probably still will record the vlog, and we'll go over even just a small sample size of results. That's what I'm currently planning. Be sure to subscribe to me here on YouTube so that you are notified when I do upload Donkey Brains Vlog episode 5. And you can also follow me on Twitter, at courtiebee on Twitter. That's where I do post every single time I upload something significant onto YouTube. So either subscribe to me here on YouTube or follow me on Twitter, or both. And that's the best way to know when episode 5 is recorded and uploaded. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. I appreciate your company. Please don't forget to click the thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And I've already said sub to me here on YouTube. You can watch me play poker live if you would like to do so. You can find me at twitch.tv/courtiebee. I will leave a link below so that you can just click it if you would like to do so. And if you are also interested in just knowing some background information on me, don't forget to watch my previous vlogs. Episode 1 is the best vlog to watch if you would like to just know how I got started in poker, my background, how I built my bankroll, all that kind of thing, okay? Also, one last thing, the graphs that I have here in the vlog were produced on Poker Tracker 4. If you are interested in using it yourself and producing the same kind of graphs, I will leave a link down below the video. Just click it. It does support me if you were to buy Poker Tracker from that link. And if you're not sure whether you want it yet, you can also get a 30-day trial using that link as well. That's it from me. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it so much. Have a great day or night, whatever it is for you. I will talk to you soon, okay? Bye!